A 219-page report was released yesterday in the United Kingdom by a member of Parliament, laying out in detail the evil, just the pure evil, of predominantly Muslim men from Pakistan, grooming, trafficking, torturing, and raping at least 250,000 white women in the United Kingdom over the course of several years.
Huge bombshell news today. The Rape Gang Inquiry report has just been published in full. It lays bare the astonishing scale of the rape, abuse and torture of potentially hundreds of thousands of young white girls at the evil hands of predominantly Pakistani Muslim men and men from other Muslim countries.
And nobody here is talking about it. That report was from this morning in what could be the biggest scandal involving sexual abuse and rape in history. Muslim men raping young white British women for decades, facilitated, ignored, and covered up by politicians, by police, by caregivers, even the Prime Minister who was in France tonight. For one reason, these people do not want to be perceived as racist, which is utterly insane. And because of that, this was able to go on, fester and thrive for decades while polite society in Britain looked the other way. According to the report, 87% of the perpetrators were Muslims from Pakistan. 87%. But the left still want you to think that diversity is our strength. It is not. And maybe you've heard that before.
The report claims Labour-dominated councils and MPs were briefed on the gangs long ago, yet later denied any knowledge. It says the party prioritised electoral reliance on Muslim voting blocs and then blocked or watered down inquiries, suppressed ethnicity data and framed legitimate concerns as far-right agitation.
Isn't that interesting? So leftist politicians in the United Kingdom ignored reports and then blamed it on the far right instead. Now, where have I heard about that before? That's right. Right here in the United States, in Minnesota, with that man right there, Tim Walz, the governor. He blamed right-wing conspiracy theorists, the president, and YouTubers for what's turned out to be a multi-billion-dollar fraud fiasco in Minneapolis.
Dark times for Western civilization. Ladies and gentlemen, you know the way that it goes. The fourth turning, we certainly are in it, where the strong men have created too good of times. Those good times create weak men. Those weak men create very, very bad times. And we're in the bad times cycle where we need strong men to stand up. And we have a number of them joining the program today. So we are locked and loaded. Thursday, June 18th, 2026. Muslim Rape Gang Inquiry Report. I'm going to call it the Muslim Rape Gang Inquiry Report because that's who was doing the raping. And we're going to explain very quickly here exactly why that shouldn't come as a shock to anyone. Because you're importing rapists and you're importing people who commit these crimes in their home country, and they've committed these crimes for thousands of years with any conquered people. Why do they do that? Because they're such monsters? Well, because their religion permits it and actually encourages it. We're going to have that conversation today with Tommy Robinson, who's a complete and total patriotic legend from the UK, somebody who we are honored to have on the show, somebody who's the best, frankly, to talk about this. He'll be joining us in just moments. Ron Johnson, ladies and gentlemen, on the show as well. Joel Pollak and Bo Nickel coming off an incredible White House fight, UFC, and, a day for champions and a day for strongmen to rise up. And that is what we're going to do today. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Rumble Wallet can ensure that you are securing your future in the creator economy and that you are able to contribute, tip, and advance for freedom and free speech. Those who are fighting every single day, we are fighting alongside of you. Take control of your money right now. Today, get $10 in U.S. stablecoin if you download Rumble Wallet. QR code right there. wallet.rumble.com/Benny. Use code Benny for 10%. Ladies and gentlemen, Rumble Wallet is a fantastic way to keep your cryptocurrency or stablecoin-backed currency or gold-backed currency. And it's also a way to ensure that we keep the creator economy strong. Take control of your money today. Rumble Wallet today. Wallet.rumble.com/Benny. I want to begin by just talking quickly about something that we've been covering and popped up, and there's totally Iran fatigue. The Iran peace deal was signed yesterday. I want to just call out all of the so-called influencers that are attacking the president over this. Shut your filthy mouths. If you love another country more than America, move to that other country. I got an incredible idea for you. If you love Israel more than America, move to Israel. If you love Ukraine more than America, move to Ukraine. If you love Somalia more than America, move to Somalia. I am so sick of the passport bros sitting there and lecturing me. I don't have another country's passport. I'm not a dual citizen. I'm not getting paid by anyone for anything. You will not find my names on any of these little registers or any of these little forest sheets. You won't find it. It doesn't exist. Would that be able, some other influencers in the space? Could you say that about? And it's sickening to me because I'm now seeing the president being attacked by both sides, right? The side that wanted like a very different peace, the side that wants bloodthirsty war, and I'm sick of it all. Let us be at peace. Peace and prosperity in our time is what President Trump has delivered in an incredible deal. The outlines of those deals now made public. Iran does not get a nuclear weapon. Iran behaves normally. Iran does not allow for themselves to become a terror state. Iran stops bombing everybody and we stop bombing them. We move our military where it belongs on our shores, which is wonderful. And then the Arab states were allowing to invest in Iran. That's great. That's what happens when you are a stable and logical partner. That opens and liberates avenues of commerce everywhere and stabilizes all of our allies in the region. It is very good. Only bloodthirsty demons want, for some inexplicable reason, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Americans to be poured into Iran to go die in the mountainous hill countries in what would probably be the single hardest country to conquer based on all of its geography. So enough. President Trump signing at Versailles last night, a peace agreement, well done, sort of ridding the world of the rotten Versailles Agreement that happened after World War I that immediately led to World War II. That immediately leads us into our first bit of conversation today. Because we didn't learn many lessons from World War II, did we? We learned practically nothing. This is Moscow this morning. Have you seen this footage? This is bananas. This is Moscow getting a drone attack this morning from Ukraine. 1,000 drones hit Moscow this morning. Look at this oil drum. Look at the top of that oil drum. Boom! It's like a yarmulke. Look at that thing. Oh, like a flying saucer. Looks like a UFO. UFOs are real, I believe. Anyway, some gallows humor there. All of Moscow is burning and in flames. This will continue. And it'll go back and forth until somebody uses a nuke. It's awful. I don't want it. We just locked up Iran with the peace deal. This is what Moscow, the skyline of Moscow this morning. Look at that. Raining black boiling oil residue all over cars, vehicles, playgrounds, municipal buildings. It is insane footage. Look at this. Dude, that's crazy. I choose to believe that's what the flying saucer. I've seen flying saucers. Well, this is what Voldemort Zelensky posted. He said, yeah, we struck a bunch of commercial buildings in Russia. The goal here is to take down Russia's gas infrastructure. They're a petrol state, just much like Iran. Yesterday, Trump said he's going to sanction Russian oil. I think the move here is to sort of bring a forced peace to the region. I would love to see that. That would be great. I thought that the peace in Ukraine would be part of the Iran deal. It would be awesome to see. We pray for peace. Blessed are the peacemakers, says our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He says, you will be called the children of God. Look at that. Whoa. He says, you'll be called the children of God if you make peace. Please let that be the case here. We don't want any more war. We don't want to disgrace our ancestors by taking the peaceful world in which they left us, the relatively peaceful world in which they left us and died for, and then inviting into the front door. This is the single most Russian. Okay, I'll just play you this. If you want some gallows humor, this is the single most Russian video that has ever existed in internet history. This is Chernobyl vibes. Dude just like having his milky coffee, watching the black flames encompass all of Moscow. Look at this. This is called Russia maxing. That's what this dude is doing. Whew, man. So anyway, Moscow hit by the largest Ukraine strike since the start of the war. This is where it is. By the way, These strikes are 400 miles away from the Ukraine border. Do you understand? Do you understand? Like, look at this map. 400 miles these drones traveled. That is sophisticated weaponry. That is sophisticated war making. Things have popped off, and we want them to chill out. And they're not going to chill out because we haven't learned our lessons. And these are the lessons that we failed to learn. Here is the rape gang inquiry that was released yesterday by Rupert Lowe. This rape gang inquiry report, seen by 40 million people, 64,000 reposts, 167,000 likes. Look at that. Probably the single most viral government report in the history of the internet. 50,000 saves. What does it say inside of the rape gang inquiry report? Well, a quick summary of this 300-page report shows that 95% of the perpetrators of a sophisticated grooming and rape gang were of Muslim heritage. They trafficked and gang raped and racial abuse tactics young local British girls who were in the working class. Then they had all of their horrific crimes covered up by the institutions inside of the UK. Why should we not, and here's the report itself. I deeply encourage you to go read it if you have a strong stomach. Why should we not be surprised by this? We're going to have Tommy Robinson on in just 1 second to comment on this. Obviously, I wish to simply explain to people, if you bring in a venomous snake into your home and it bites you and you get a horrible injury, you brought in the snake. You knew the nature of the snake. You can find the nature of the snake in nature. You can observe it. It is observable. What do we observe in Islamic culture? Concubinage and right-hand possessions. The Quran permits sexual use of female slaves, historical Islamic conquests involving enslaving and raping non-Muslim women as war spoils. And Muhammad even allowed for this to happen. Muhammad married a 6-year-old. Classical jurisprudence accepts master-slave without modern consent standards. There you go. And you can see Summa 4:24, Summa 23:5, Summa 33:50. The infidel dynamics, non-Muslim, are seen as lesser and subordinate. Sexual activity is available in conquest. Modern echoes of jihadist rhetoric focusing on sexual jihad. It's rape culture. This is something that, of course, you can find naturally practiced right now in nature. Where would you look? Well, you'd look at most Muslim countries, but especially Muslim countries that are run by ISIS, where rape culture is the norm. You go ask any GWAT veteran. You know anybody who fought in the great global war on terror that lasted 20 years? Oh, I certainly do. I bet you do too. I bet Tommy Robinson does. Go ahead and ask them what they witnessed in Afghanistan. Ask them about the child sex slavery. Ask them about where they were forced to turn their eyes and look away at the heinous, hideous, inhumane, barbaric, caveman sexual practices of selling children for sex, of sex slavery, of concubinage, and our American, ask any GWAT veteran, and they'll tell you about it, and their eyes will water. Ladies and gentlemen, what has studies found? Well, Muslim communities in the UK show parallel patterns of cousin marriages, honor culture, segregation, high inbreeding, and lack of impulse control. This is, of course, all tied to supremacist teachings at mosques. I'm not saying that all Muslims do this. That's empirically untrue. I am saying that these are cornerstones of Muslim culture from specific Muslim nations and Muslim regions that you cannot find in Christendom because, of course, we don't allow that. You can read the Bible end to end, and I have, and you can't find permissible sex slavery, concubinage, or oppression of people who aren't Christians. You find the opposite, of course. These don't exist in Christian-founded nations, or what we would call civilization, because they're not permissible via the religion that is the bedrock of Western Christendom. But they are permissible in Muslim countries. Doesn't mean that all Muslims do it. It means that you will get that if you import enough Muslims. That's what it means. For instance, The highest coefficient for all inbreeding is in Somalia in the whole world. One of the highest coefficients for child brides in the whole world is Somalia. So why should you be surprised when Ilhan Omar marries her brother, which she did? That's what happens in Somalia, especially for fraudulent purposes, if you're trying to get something out. Why should you be surprised when you bring Muslim people to the UK and something like 20% of the United Kingdom is now foreign-born Muslim heritage? Muhammad is the most common name now in the United Kingdom. Why should you be surprised? You shouldn't. It makes perfect sense. Our inquiry report proves without a doubt that there is an undeniable linkage between religion and rape gangs, Islam. As a country, we need to say it. You can see here where the rape gangs were. Stop calling them Asian grooming gangs. They're not Japanese. Call them what they are. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. And here are some of the mugshots. 250,000 young women. Tommy Robinson on, absolutely bang on. Make no bones about it. Keir Starmer, who shoved under the rug 13,000 different Pakistani groomers and rapists and gave them warning letters to not rape again, because that's how you solve it. Online censorship attacks on all fronts are designed to stop people from seeing these things. Share it everywhere. Message to the family, group chats everywhere. The man who's maybe the most censored man on earth. A man who is perhaps the most arrested man in the entire United Kingdom. His name is Tommy Robinson. He's a total and complete patriot. He has millions and millions of followers and subscribers. He draws millions of people into the streets of London to celebrate the Anglosphere and Western civilization, and to do so in the face of Keir Starmer, a man who I really hope is the Prime Minister of England one of these days. The great Tommy Robinson joins our show live right now. Tommy, welcome to the program. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you for having me, mate. Thank you for having me.
I know there's quite a time difference, so I don't actually know. Is it extremely late or?
That's right. No, it's half free. Half free.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. Okay. Okay. So let's begin here with this dark topic of the rape gang inquiry. Is there still a total blackout in British media over this?
There is. And do you know, when you read this report, Benny, maybe you can understand why they went for me hell for leather, all guns blazing. When I opened my mouth about this in 2009, I first opened it in 2004, but in 2009, I brought it to the nation's attention when we took to our streets in our thousands of young men. We were angry young men, and we took to the streets, and we weren't allowing them to silence us. So we would come under fierce attack. But I don't think anyone can quite comprehend the lengths the state went to end me, to finish me, to destroy me for talking about this. For example, so we start a movement called the English Defence League. I'm due to talk about grooming in Rotherham. You'd have seen the Rotherham mentioned in these reports. Rotherham's where 1,400 children were raped. It's in Yorkshire. Rotherham's in the borough of Yorkshire. And I'm due to go there and speak, and the police arrest me. I'm arrested at Luton Airport by Special Branch, and they arrest me for a criminal damage. So I'm held for criminal damage, thinking, what is that about? Yeah, and I stayed in a hotel room and in Yorkshire the day after our last event, and they said that there was £30, so $40 worth of damage on a hotel room door. And then they at the same time, they raided my family's home and my parents' home. Armed police raided both homes. They ransacked the homes, they took all the phones, took all the computers. When they bailed me, and my bail conditions, not to send an email, not to use social media, not to be in a group of 3 or more men. These were my bail conditions, yeah? Not to be in a group of 3 or 4 men. My bail date was the same date that I was due to speak in Yorkshire about the grooming gangs. Now, so Yorkshire police travelled 4 hours for this raid. Now, I put in a complaint through the IPCC. This is in 2009, saying that I believe you've arrested me to prevent me talking about the rape gangs, to prevent me highlighting problems that are going on in your areas with problems that you've allowed to happen. They accepted it all. So after 6 months, once the demonstration date had passed, once it held me and prevented me from my activism for 6 months, they just said, yeah, there was no criminal damage. So they fabricated charges going back to 2009, and then they made me the next Hitler to the world. Yeah, that's what they made me. They literally, the media I was attacked as a racist, far-right extremist. Every single media outlet attacked me. Now, when you read this, you can understand why. Because and when I talk about this, the level of cover-up, and when you follow the people, on my next documentary, I've done a 5-part series so far called The Rape of Britain. If you haven't watched them, Benny, watch them. We go after the gangs. We do police-style investigations into how the men operated, who operated. We put trackers on their cars. We go and covertly surveillance them. We go to their homes. We go in their businesses. And we tell the stories of the survivors. And you hear, say in episode 1, Nicole, she tells the story. And I was making these documentaries at a time when I was invisible, when I was deplatformed from every social media in the world. Yeah. So I was making them only on Getter, a little social network in the United States. So I was making them, and I made episode 1 where we get the witness statements. We go through the case. They started raping the girl at 11. They impregnate her at 13. There is 100% DNA match for the fetus, because when she has an abortion, the police took the fetus. So from the fetus of the baby, they get 100% DNA match for the rapist. So they know who's raped her. No further action. No further action. He did not get prosecuted. A 24-year-old male who raped a 13-year-old child. And we show all this in our documentary. So when you hear that the rape gangs have been dealt with, and I'll give you an example. So in Telford had 1,000 victims. Telford's a small town in the middle of England. 1,000 victims. It has a 1.7% Muslim population. So there's only 4,000 Muslims there. Get rid of the women, get rid of the children, yeah? Get rid of the under 16s. The police investigation identified 200 men from the Muslim community who had been raping the children. There's only 1,000 Muslim men. The police investigation identified 200. These are their figures, not mine. Yeah, they prosecuted 11. So when you see that the prosecutions happen, you're seeing these images. It's this much because they don't have the resources, don't have the prison places for the scale of the rapes. And the only places we've got numbers for is Telford and Rotherham. So Telford, we know from the investigation that there were 1,000 victims. As I said, there's no Muslims in Telford. In Rotherham, the other town, which is a big news story, there's 1,400 victims raped. So in Telford, 5 of them are murdered. 5 of them burned alive, set on fire, tortured, killed in this small town. Now, when you go to Rotherham, Rotherham has a 3.7% Muslim population. There's none there. Yeah, there's none there. Now, my town, 50%. Now, I become prominent in my activism. My cousin was a victim of these gangs when we were 13 years old. So I've seen all of this my whole life. And I saw it in my hometown of Luton. I saw the Pakistanis. I saw how they acted. I saw the hostility. I saw the violence. I saw the aggression. I saw the terrorism. Saw the jihad. I saw it all. My town has 45 mosques. So I've witnessed it. Yeah. And then when I started talking about it, when I set up a national movement, we started in Luton to highlight, because I thought it was a Luton problem. And then when I started traveling the country, I realized this is happening in every single town and city. Every town and city. And then what you now know as grooming was never mentioned. It was still in cover-up mode. So they tried to crush us, the English Defence League. They literally tried to crush us. They tried to crush us. It didn't work. They put us in jail. I've done 6 prison sentences. Not for crimes, not for any actual crimes, for journalism, challenging grooming gangs, making documentaries. My last prison sentence was 18 months in prison for making a documentary, for making a film. So the point is, I don't think your audience, I know I've watched what you're doing. It's great coverage. The scale of this problem, no one can comprehend. No one can understand. It's not 250,000. It's far more. It's not, because even if you look at the cities, the Rupert Lowe inquiry, it's a brilliant work. It's brilliant inquiry. But the cities where they've uncovered 85 of the cities where the gangs are, doesn't include my city. I know hundreds myself of girls, hundreds, yeah, in my town. So this is every single town and city. And to an American audience, if you don't think this is happening in America, you're mental. If you don't understand, you know, Minnesota, the way they turned a blind eye to the fraud, they let billions of pounds and they pretended it didn't know it was happening. Now, the reason for all of these actions, same in the UK, yes, it was fear of being branded racist, but the other reason was our governments, each of them, were intent on mass open border immigration. Now, what you're reading now in that report is the reality of mass open border immigration. It's what happens. So if people were allowed to know 30 years ago about these crimes, they'd start looking at the government policy failures of mass open border immigration. So they hid all of these crimes because they were intent on continuing flooding this nation with Pakistanis, with Eritreans, with Somalians, with Iraqis, Afghanis. And even when you're talking about the snake, I'll just listen to your when you're talking about the snake, in Afghanistan, 99% of Afghanis want Sharia law, right? 88% of them believe stoning is a suitable punishment for a woman, digging a hole and smashing rocks against her. 88% of them, yeah? So every 100 Afghanis that you let in, because Joe Biden let in hundreds of thousands, literally bought them in, flew them in, every 88 out of the 100 believe they can stone a woman with rocks against her head. And 99 out of the 100 want Sharia law. So that same snake that is now ravaging Europe is going to ravage America. It's going to do it. It's exactly the same. Now, in Holland, these gangs were called lover boys. Lover boy, that's what they call them, lover boy. And there was actually a film made in 2007 in Holland. And it was an educational film for the schools. And it was to let them know the lover boy tactic. Because how these gangs operate is they call it lover boy because they make the girl fall in love. They get a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, they get a 24-year-old Muslim man with money in a nice car, and he grooms them in, he buys them trainers, gives them money, gives them alcohol, treats them well. And then bang, they gang rape them, video them, torture them. But by that point, the girl's reliant on the man. By that point, the girl thinks the man's her boyfriend. By that point, she's isolated already from her mum and dad. They change the group of friends she hangs around with. It's an entire system, yeah? And it's the same MO everywhere. So, as I said, Holland, Loverboy, made an educational film to educate that the Moroccans in Holland are doing this to Dutch girls. When they wanted to play the film in the UK, it got shut down through accusations of racism. They didn't allow it to play. Now, Loverboy, grooming gangs, love jihad is what it's called in India. I don't know what name you're going to come up for in America, but you need to get one ready because it's happening. I guarantee you it's happening. Wherever there's a Muslim community, they are ravaging, raping, grooming, whatever name you want to come up with it. It's a rape jihad. That's what it is. Yeah. And the figures, as I said, the scale of the problem. And when you see the arrests, so if you draw a graph, which we drew, so the English Defence League formed in 2009. Yeah. Now there was no arrests. There's no arrests. 2009. At that point, 10,000 young English men were hitting the streets into the Muslim areas. It was provocative how we acted. We had to. No one was listening to us. No one was listening. And at that point, we had the world's attention. The English Defence League became a household name in Britain, but around the globe. And media sources, so we bypassed the British media because media were coming in from other countries. And literally, I went through and done a presentation called The Rape of Britain, where we looked at this. There's no arrests. English Defence League forms in 2009. By 2010, all the arrests start. Because at that point, behind closed doors and corridors of power, they realised we've got to do something here. Yeah. This is now boiling over into potential race riots, into potential sectarian violence. Because British men at that point in 2009, English men, which they called us hooligans, call us what you want. Yeah. We were dads. We were men. And you're raping our kids. And not just you're raping them. So yes, we're angry with you, the Muslim community, because you all knew it's happening. Do you know in the whole scale of the 30, 40 years, do you know how many Muslims went to the police and reported on the other Muslims? Or do you know how many Muslims have given evidence against the other Muslims? Not one. Not one single Muslim thought it was the right thing to do was to report that he saw his colleagues, his family, his friends, because they were all involved. Brothers, when you go through these cases, brothers, fathers and sons, Benny. I met a dad from Blackpool. I met a dad in the early years of the English Defence League. I went to see him. Daughter's gone. She's been gone for years, crying his eyes out. Do you know what they'd do? They'd ring him. They'd ring the dad. Why the dad and the Muslim, the rapist, would rape the girl. And they'd be on the phone to the dad while they're raping his daughter. They'd be on the phone to him. I don't think anyone can comprehend the level of satanic rape, the butchering of what they've done to these children. Because this wasn't about sexual gratification. This is, as you're right, it's about conquest. It's about taking the thing that we hold the dearest to us, our daughter, the most vulnerable thing there is. And it's about destroying it and taking it. And I remember that dad, it must have been, I met him in 2009 and he must have rang me again in 2013 crying, she's home, Tommy. Okay, she's home. But this is going on in every town and city. And what you're reading and then the attacks against everyone who tried to talk about it. I mean, like, it wasn't just me. My name come prominent in it. They destroyed and ended people's lives over it because of the level of cover up. And when I say the level of cover up, for example, again, I'll give you another example. The police officer who was in charge of Rotherham Police Force, who facilitated and allowed these rapes at the height of the years, well, he's now in charge of counter-terrorism. I was prosecuted under counter-terrorism last year. I was arrested 4 days ago by counter-terrorism. Yeah. So they are still in cover-up mode. They are still in attack mode. They are still, again, people still don't, I know this report's come out. I know people are reading it. But again, it's far worse. It's far bigger than anyone can comprehend.
The logical question following the horrors that you just described, Tommy, is certainly the British taxpayer and the British patriot who fought in multiple wars in order to secure the island and to ensure that barbarism doesn't come to the shores of England and that the English people would be safe in their home and hearth. Surely those people can trust that their government would not invite through the front door barbarians that were worse than England fought in any world war. But that's exactly what's happened. It's happened on purpose and it's happened via official state policy. So where does the blame fall with the state? Has surely Keir Starmer, who's in charge here and has a jurisprudence background, surely he has done something to stop this, right, Tommy?
Not one single politician, not one single person in a position of power has been held accountable. Not one. Even when we know they've covered it up, all the reports have come out. Because the first report came out in 2014, I think, which was the Rotherham report. And up until those first 5 years, they'd labelled us, they'd attacked us, smeared us, and a lot of people didn't like us. They thought we were troublemakers. The report comes out and proves everything we said was true. So at that point, and I was in jail. I remember I was in jail when the report came out, sitting in the prison cell, and it's all blowing up on the news. I'm like, oh my God, man. Oh my God, it's out. Like, how they can't get it out. Because we'd fought to get that out and to bring it to the public's attention. 2014, a brave lady called Sammy Woodhouse. You should get her on your show. She's brilliant. She's been relentless in this. She's the lead survivor. She's become the face of the survivors of the rape gangs. She was a victim of her rapist, got the biggest prison sentence. I think he got 30 years in Rotherham. He raped her as a child, abused her, impregnated her. So, but she fought relentlessly and she went through the first court case, which then really exploded it. And then there was a domino effect. But then at that point, that's where you get so when they had to start bringing court cases, which they had to at that point, we then started getting the reporting from the court cases. Like, I just spoke at Oxford University last night in a debate. Now, when you think of Oxford, what do you think of in the UK? You think of pristine, beautiful university. Not anymore, mate. Oxford was the centre of one of these biggest rape scandals in our country's history, where girls were taken to the houses next door to mosques. One of the girls was 12 years old. She had a hot iron rod with the letter M, heated up and scolded her bum because she was the property of Muhammad. They tortured them, nailed their tongues to tables. And while they've done all of this, council, the police, everyone, you have to say that out loud so many times. Every institution and every body and every group whose job it was to protect these children, done nothing, sat by. Every media knew it was happening, everyone. Because if you lived in a town like Luton, you knew, everyone knows it's happening. Yeah. So I knew it was happening. We all knew it was happening. So everyone knows it's happening in every town and city. Media know. So at that level, they had to start dealing with the gangs. So in the court cases, we started then hearing what the men were saying, because there'd be a 6-week trial and the media would be in court and they'd be reporting every day. Yeah. Every day. So you'd be getting the news on these first few trials. Now, the government then thought, we need to cover this up. Yeah. So from that point on, we got the first 2 or 3 trials where we heard the words the men were using. They're calling them dirty gullah, white slags. They were making religious comments, racial comments, all of it. And we got the detail and the horrific detail every day. So it was going everywhere. From that point on, the police then put reporting restrictions. The courts put reporting restrictions. So every case now, if there's a 6-week trial or an 8-week trial, has a reporting restriction. So in 2017, I went to a court case in Leeds and I stood outside the court case as the men were walking into court. And I said to the British public, what you don't know is that court cases are going on in every town and city, but you're not getting the details. There are currently 30 men on trial here for raping hundreds of children, and you will hear nothing about it. They got me, the judge come and got me from outside court, brought me inside court and sent me to jail for 13 months. And let the rapists go home. One of them packed his bags and went to Pakistan. They were more worried about the public knowing what's going on. So they have these reporting restrictions. Now, here's the really dark and sinister bit, because in every court case in the UK, so they have these reporting restrictions on the cases. Now, the transcripts for the court cases cost tens of thousands to get, if you want the transcripts. So they have an 8-week trial. We don't know what's gone on in the trial because there's a reporting restriction. We get 1 day's news at the end. Now, if you want to know what's gone on, the transcripts are only held for 5 years. Keir Starmer's accelerating it now. So after 5 years, every single transcript and every word and every document for that court case will be deleted. So everything that's happening in these courtrooms is going to be deleted. So if you try in 10 years or 15 years to look back at this moment in history and find out what happened to the girls, they are deleting every aspect of it. That's how coordinated this is, still in cover-up mode. So Google that, but Benny, do a piece on the fact of the government are deleting all of the transcripts from the court cases, which means we'll never be able to get the true scale or the true horror and the true crimes that were done to these children.
Your prime minister is complicit in this. 100%. He covered up and gave warnings to something like 13,000 Muslim rapists. What is your message to Keir Starmer?
Your days are numbered. And look, I don't think so. When you see lots of things happened and lots of things failed here, police failed, government failed. Do you know who else failed? We failed. As a nation, we failed. Now, we lost morality, we lost faith, we lost culture, we lost the church, we lost Jesus, we lost our belief, we lost everything, our identity. And that wasn't a mistake. The church, all these things, what I'd say is a successful left-wing revolution. Open border mass immigration, attack the church, attack the family, feminize the man, weaken the man. All these things have happened. Now that left a void, and in that void filled all these barbaric ideas. Yeah, but we as a nation, if we had pride, we wouldn't let any of this happen. As men, we wouldn't let it happen. So we lost ourselves. Yeah, we lost ourselves. Now, what Keir Starmer and what I think people should be looking at Britain and realizing is Britain's been asleep for 30 years. Britain was paralyzed through fear. Our leaders, but not just our leaders, all of us were. When I started, Benny, you've got my name there as Tommy Robinson. Yeah, my name's not Tommy Robinson. My name's Stephen Lennon. But I used a fake name because I was scared. I wore a mask because I was scared. I didn't want to lose my job. I didn't want to be in that position. So I understand the fear that the public had because I had that fear. I knew they're going to attack you. They're going to want to kill you. I understood the problems of taking on Islam because I'm born in Luton. I get it. Yeah. What I didn't understand was the British state and the lengths it would go to, and the dark side of the British state, and how corrupted it was. So, but what Keir Starmer's government and what the globalists or the elite, whatever word you want to come to for them, need to understand is that a cultural revolution is happening in Britain. A political revolution is happening. People are finding faith. They're finding identity again. Men are becoming strong. Men are meeting. There's a lot happening, Benny, outside of this that I'm watching, and I've waited 15 long bloody years for. Yeah,
please.
I've waited 15 long years for this moment, and I'm looking at it happening. You mentioned before we had millions on the streets. All of these things, unfortunately for us, as a nation that was asleep, all these things had to happen. Like I say in America, you needed Joe Biden for 4 years, yeah, to be able to elect Donald Trump with a mandate where the public support the change that's needed to be brought in. Yeah, and we need all this. So Keir Starmer, his days are numbered. Nationalism, patriotism, whatever word you want to come to for it, is accelerating. It's a fire that they're not going to be able to put out. But again, until we get justice, as in until every man, police officer, because none of them have been prosecuted, they've all swanned off with their pensions. But not just that. Out of the 200 rapists in Telford, 11 were prosecuted. So how many have been let off in different towns and cities all over the nation? Every rapist must be prosecuted, but not to be prosecuted. We don't want them here. They need to leave. The community that allowed this to happen needs to leave. Every family member that knew their brother, cousin, because what you have to understand is that this hasn't been frowned upon. The community support them. So when they go to court, these rapists, all their wives and that are in court supporting them. They don't, like a paedophile would get kicked out of the community, driven out of the community. Not this. This isn't paedophilia to them. This is accepted. This is okay because it's non-Muslim girls. You've already looked at it. The biggest question, it started off as Asian grooming gangs. We managed to get it to Pakistani grooming gangs. We've now managed to get it to Muslim rape gangs, Islamic rape gangs. Yes, the majority are Pakistani because the majority of Muslims in the UK are Pakistani. But I went through the figures of where they're from. They're from Iraq. They're from Afghanistan. Do you know the Somalian gang? Because there's a Somalian gang in Bristol. He said in court it was his religious duty to do this. So I've gone through. They literally quote the Quran whilst they're raping the girls.
Yes, we read through the Summa and the Hadiths of how this is permissible under that religion. And so,
what you're doing there, Benny, what you're doing there has not been allowed to happen. No one's been allowed to look at why. Because I always said in the UK that's what they crushed us for. Because once they accepted there were these gangs, well, why is it Muslims? Why are 3% of the country Pakistani male, but they're responsible for 90% of the convictions? That question, which you're going into, to look at the hadiths, to look at Muhammad's words, to look at his actions, you couldn't do that. We can now. We're only because of your X. But literally, you mentioned this. You were invisible. You were deleted.
So this is a United Kingdom that nobody recognizes, because for the first time in maybe since William Wallace, we're having beheadings in the street of Northern Ireland. Henry Novak is stabbed to death, and the state turns on him and drags him across the gravel as he bleeds out and dies. You're having a moment of true horror, Tommy, and you're still the majority. Like Britons are still the majority in your country. This is happening to you when there's just a relatively small minority that is doing this to the majority. What happens when you're outnumbered? I mean, it becomes, truly all the English must flee then your home island that your ancestors built and died for.
They're already fleeing, Benny.
Right. So what is the solution here exactly? Can you please, and maybe I'm asking a little too much, but could you paint an optimistic visage of what could happen if the British people woke up and took action?
Okay, so I will be optimistic because, as I said, I've done this for 15, 17 years, and I wasn't optimistic because the country was asleep. I'm telling you now, Benny, this country's awake. The men are awake. I'm telling you, yeah. And I see it everywhere I walk. When I walk down the streets, the reaction I receive, I can literally visually see the awakening. I've witnessed it. The shift in the last 24 months in Britain, I think, will be viewed. I mean, the shift is insane. The people who hated me now support me like that. I'll tell it like this. I've got two daughters. One's 14, one's 18. When the 18-year-old was at school, she had a hard time, and the kids hated me. Yeah, the 14-year-old, it's all changed. In those 4 years, it's all changed. Not just the kids, the parents now speak to me, like me, understand me, understand what we're saying. So that awakening has happened across the whole nation. Yeah. And people are awake. Mainly, I'm going to pin this back. Thanks to Elon Musk buying X, because none of this would have happened. The awakening that's happening would not have happened without social media and X. Yeah. It wouldn't have happened without you electing Donald Trump. It wouldn't have happened without Rubio, JD Vance, and Trump. There's 3 or 4 Americans that are fighting for the free speech of Europeans and for the culture of Europe. And it's come from your election. So my YouTube channel was turned back on 2 weeks before I got out of jail. I got out of jail a year ago, yeah, for the last film. And my YouTube channel was turned back on. Now that's a ripple that come out from your election, because I was deleted off YouTube. All of a sudden I'm back. Yeah, all of a sudden I'm back. So that ripple of free speech, and I don't think courage is men follow courage anyway. Men follow courage, yeah. So, but not just men follow courage, but that ripple that's come from the United States has lit a fire in all of us. So we now see, because I was abroad, I see this is it now. 2 years ago, when Elon Musk turned on my page, he turned on my X, I was pretty broken, Benny. I'd spent time on solitary confinement, messed my head. I was in a low place. I was in a dark place. I'd gone through a divorce. My family had been attacked. I'd had all these problems. I've been bankrupt through the courts for everything. And I was abroad. Elon Musk turned my phone back on, turned my X back on. And I remember going, right, this is it. The fight is now on. Yeah. So I contacted 12 influencers. Call them influencers, call them YouTubers. Katie Hopkins, Lawrence Fox, Cole Benjamin, Maya Tusi. You may know some of these names. All of them have been attacked at some point. All of them have been under the same name calling, the same slander. I contacted them, said, right, we need a meeting. I'm coming back to the UK. Can we get together for 48 hours in a hotel? Yeah. our country's in danger, our culture's disappearing, they're going to win. Yeah, we're losing everything here. We met up, we sat down, 12 of us, and we said, right, let's work together on a new cultural movement, because if we change the culture of Britain, we're going to change the politics of Britain. We can't set up a political party. We don't have hundreds of millions of pounds, but let's make it cool to be British. Let's bring Jesus back into the forefront. Let's reignite and let this country understand what built this nation. Let's get back to so we sat and we said, we don't want to talk about what we disagree on, but each one of us wrote our 10 most important points. And then we saw where they drew up and matched. And the point of it was that it's not my cultural movement. The point of it was that we together, us 12 influencers, you've got 1 million on YouTube. I only had 300,000 on X at the time. Yeah. But then he had TikTok, she had Facebook. So whereas I'm deplatformed from some, by bringing all 12 of us together, we can now message and reach the nation. If we work together, we come to a 5 value system. Yeah. We're against mass immigration. We're against Islam. We're against LGBTQ plus indoctrination of children. We're for free speech, and we're against LGBTQ. We're for mass immigration, for free speech, against Islam, and we're a Christian culture, Judeo-Christian culture. We're a Christian nation. Yeah. So those 5 values. If we agree on these 5 principles, and we work together, us 12 people, at a click of a button, we're going to reach this nation. Yeah. And then we started the Unite the Kingdom movement. We come up with the name Unite the Kingdom, and the focus of it was to awaken the nation, but through culture. Because Keir Starmer was elected off 9 million votes. 20 million didn't vote, Benny. Yeah, 20 million didn't vote. Now, those 20 million don't care about politics, because I know who that 20 million are. They're us. It's me before I got involved in this. It's working class Brits, but they care about culture and they care about identity. So we started a movement 2 years ago to shift the culture, to shift the discussion, to shift the Overton window. And if I look at the success story of it, everything's changed. Look at the rise of Rupert Lowe's party. The fact, when I listened to Rupert Lowe yesterday in what he said, I said, I've waited 15 years to have a political figure say this in Great Britain. Now, there's different aspects to this. There's a political aspect, but a cultural aspect. United the Kingdom is a cultural movement. We want to get in to the 20 million non-voters. And we want to spend the next 3 years captivating them, electrifying them, giving them back their sense of belief and identity. Because the reason they're not voting is because they don't believe they matter. Well, and apathy has led to the rape gangs. Apathy has led to the destruction of our nation. Apathy has led to Keir Starmer leading this country. One of the most weak, yellow-bellied cowards I've ever seen in this nation is the leader of our nation. We need strong men. So we need, and that's what we've created through Unite the Kingdom movement. So I am optimistic. But what do we need to do? Really? We're going to spend the next 3 years reaching those movements. We're going to go into working class, tougher states, signing them up and registering them to vote. So we need a cultural movement, and we need a political movement, and we need a new media, which is why channels like yourself, Benny, we are the media. Yeah. The difference they still think they have the monopoly. They still think the BBC Channel 4 is like, no, you're dying. Yeah, you don't get it. You're dying. We, as in the combination of the 12 people we brought together. And what we did at these events is, and we sent 30 invites out to the new media, to YouTubers, to TikTokers for our first event. We brought music, culture, we brought Christianity, celebration, and we created events on the streets, which were a celebration of who we are. And we went from 30,000 to 100,000 to 200,000 to millions. Yeah. And that's where we're at now as a nation. The awakening's happening. The fact that this report is on the views you're saying it is the most released report in history. I waited when I last went to prison last year. Elon Musk shared episode 1. Now, when you've made these documentaries that I've made, they're incredible documentaries. When you've made them and you tell a girl's story and it gets 200,000 views, it's pretty disheartening. That when Elon Musk shared that, it went to 40 million views. So yeah, I would give you optimism that there's a lot to solve in Britain, with a lot of problems in Britain, but Britain's getting organised. Men are, and this is another aspect of it, Benny. This isn't happening in the church. There's a Christian revival happening in Great Britain. It's happening on the streets. It's happening in parks. Men are meeting in parks. It started in one park in the north of England. Men met up, tough men, but they met up to physically train and pray together. It spread like a fire. It spread. And now there's 50 men in that park, 20 men in that park, 30 men in that park. And they're all meeting up and they're all praying together. And then they're all fighting and physically, whether it be combat sports, physically training, carrying each other. So it's men who are empowering men. So there's different aspects that are going on. I'm watching all these things organically spring up. So it's organically happening. And it's like, as I said, for me, it's exciting. I've been waiting 15 years. For me, I've worked my life to get to the point where people are listening. So things are happening. Yeah.
A revival. So you're saying a revival is happening in England. We don't have much time. We have a senator waiting that actually wanted to listen to you. And so I'm going to ask him a number of follow-up questions, maybe a final question for you, Tommy, before maybe we do another long form podcast, because there's so much here to unpack and so many follow-up questions I didn't get a chance to ask.
I'm hoping I'm in America. I'm hoping I'm back in America soon, Benny. So.
Oh, will you? Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. Let's do a number of events together. There's a Brit that might become governor of California. So who knows? Are you ever going to run for office?
I don't see that as my position. I think that in-house politics, I see my position is to get the 20 million or to reach the working class, to get them registered to vote. Yeah. And I see that my position is in media. And that's where I'll never say never, but I am making documentaries. I've got lots of plans for documentaries this year. We're trying to expand our team, trying to grow our team. We do everything. We have 5. There's only 5 of us in my team. Yeah. And that's put on the events, put on the street protests, do our video stuff. So we want to expand our team. But I would say to Americans, when I come to America, I met Keith Self. I met many. He was the head of the Sharia caucus. Now, when you have politicians, you're at 1%, yeah, Muslim population. So obviously, look at New York; it's coming, yeah, it's coming. But and look at what they're doing in Texas. You went from 300 mosques to 540 mosques in 5 years. Yeah, there's 600 organizations active now, Muslim Brotherhood sponsored organizations as well, active now in Texas. 600. Now they're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to change Texas forever. That's their goal. Who's working to stop them? Is there a coordinated federal movement to stop what they're planning to do to your country? Because they've done it to ours. So I come to America and say, this is what they've done to us. This is how they've done it. Now, you already have some brave congressmen stepping up, some real brave, lots of them speaking out. Support them. Get behind them. Get behind anyone so they're not left on their own. Because when they speak up, CARE and these organizations already embedded in the United States, they're going to attack them. They're going to go for them. They're going to try and take them down. So you need, as the public, to support anyone and everyone who's having this conversation, anyone who's brave enough to have these discussions right now. Get behind them, support them, stop funding Netflix and start sponsoring these sorts of channels, because this is the new media. So as I said, for me, there's 3 fronts to it. There's a political movement, a cultural movement, and a media movement, and all 3 need to benefit each other. And the same problems coming in America. It's there. I saw it when I come there. So
it's been a lifelong dream of mine to go fundraise for a Henry Novak statue. I want to put up actual statues of the people who we've lost in this cultural war. I know there's a number of Charlie statues that are in the works. Irina Zastruka has murals throughout large American cities, and Austin Metcalf and his family just got justice, if you can call it that. But unless you shine a light on this, you'll never change it. People have to not look away. And so we're thankful for you, Tommy. And we're thankful for the work that you do. We look forward to seeing you hopefully stateside. And God bless you. Everybody follow Tommy Robinson. He is the man who is in the arena and has actually suffered for his beliefs. Many of us get to sit in a studio all day, but Tommy actually suffers for his beliefs, and that shows true conviction. He's willing to sacrifice in the sense of a martyr for his beliefs. And so follow him, follow his work. Tommy, we look forward to seeing you stateside.
Thank you, Benny. Keep up the good work. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what a dark interview. That was tough. It's not magic rocks. Countries aren't magic rocks. Magic rocks don't make a Japan or an Italy or a Somalia. The people make the country. Import the people, you'll import the country. So if you like how Japan runs their culture, which is pristine and clean and orderly and lawful, then if you import Japanese people, I'm not arguing for that, but like if you import it, you're going to import that culture. If you don't like the way, or if you wouldn't like to live in Sudan, or if you wouldn't like to live in the countries like that are in the third world, which you don't, of course, then you mustn't import people from those countries, because the people make the countries. People are the culture. If you took every Japanese person and moved them to Florida, then they would bring their language, they would bring their laws, they would bring their sensibilities, they would bring their food, they would bring their music, they would bring their culture. Florida would cease to be Florida. It'd become something else. It'd become some hybrid Japanese version of this. But it would be Japanese. There'd be deep Japanese sensibilities suddenly. That's just the way that it is, especially if you moved every Floridian out of Florida and just replaced all of Japan here. That's how it works. I mean, please understand, the people are the culture. I think that's like really it's ultimately what we're talking about here. England is learning this the hard way. Let us not learn it the hard way. Why are our leadership so daft and dumb? I don't know. You don't have to be dumb. You could sign up for Patriot Mobile today. We talk about Patriot Mobile a lot, ladies and gentlemen, because it's a partner that we love, and it's a partner that, frankly, has supported us. I hope someday to travel to the UK and to work with Tommy. That would be amazing. He has these massive marches. They're incredibly inspiring. And, well, I know, because I've gone international, that our Patriot Mobile devices work just fine. We went to Cuba a couple of years ago, and boy, howdy, I feel like going back. But they don't have any electricity, so I'm not sure if we'd even be able to charge the phone. You can go to patriotmobile.com/Benny, call 972-PATRIOT, use a promo code Benny for a free month of service on the only Christian conservative wireless provider. That's patriotmobile.com/Benny, call 972-PATRIOT to make the switch today. Now, we have a stacked show for you. Senator Johnson was on, and now Senator Johnson has a vote, we hear. I did not want to interrupt Tommy. I felt like he's talking about such important subject matter. And we know that J.D. Vance is doing a White House press conference in just a moment. So we might actually be switching over to the J.D. Vance press conference, because there is a great deal that is going on in the world right now. So I'm sort of waiting for our production team to pivot and tell me what direction that we are going. We have Joel Pollack, and we also have Bo Nickel that will be joining the program. So plenty of fantastic, a fantastic suite of guests and some incredible voices in our movement. However, it's a live show, so this is the way that it goes. Senator Johnson did have to go to votes. That's too bad. We are big fans of Senator Johnson. He said, "Hey, can you put me in so that I can listen to Tommy Robinson?" And then he bounced. That's the way that it goes. We don't want to shop for new guests. We're very proud of the guests that we have. My production team is efforting, trying to get them locked and loaded. But if you want to have people come to your shop and buy your goods, then Shopify would be the place to go. Shopify is an incredible company that keeps our online business rolling. Everything that we do is online, although we physically want to engage in the world, because that's actually how you change the world. You have to physically build and create things. It's so wonderful to see that happening all across America. There's a renaissance of young entrepreneurs building real things again and reindustrializing our nation. It is inspiring to see. If you have a dream or a great idea, it has never been a better time to push the button and say, let's go. Shopify can help you do that. Shopify can help you build a design studio, accelerate your efficiency in uploading new products. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools to get you started, and a marketing team that can get behind you, pumping customers into your shop and store. Best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert, world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory, from international shipping, all of the logistics that get people stuck. They got you. 24/7 customer support. Shopify will help tackle all of the business startup woes, and we know them at this company, and it's why we personally use Shopify. So start your business today with the industry best business partner, Shopify, and start hearing the king in your bank account. Go to shopify.com/Benny. Call shopify.com/Benny. I said call them, put them in, and get locked and loaded for your new dream business idea hitting. Let's go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what do we have here? Trump personally signs Iran deal. We have this, and we talked about it at the top of the show. Wanted to talk about, obviously, the main subject of the show, and I think that was a bang-on interview with Tommy Robinson. But we have the Trump signing the peace deal. It is a very good peace deal. I needed to go a little flames on at the off the top, because I'm angry that there are what I believe to be foreign assets and paid influencers who are manipulating this moment and attacking the president because they are bloodthirsty monsters. I don't know. Because they're manipulating this opportunity to make more money for the defense industry or for their nation that's paying them, or for the warmonger neocons. I'm not sure. But whatever it is, I'm sick of it. We support our president. We're proud. Please play the signing. We're proud of him. We're glad that the president has done this and has worked so tirelessly in order to get this officially over the finish line. Again, this is an incredible agreement that puts the behavioral onus on Iran in order to behave as a rational regional partner and to accelerate peace and stability in the region. Iran, in this agreement, promises to never have a nuclear weapon, to let America downblend and to rid it of all of the highly enriched uranium, and to open the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump just posted about the Strait of Hormuz. Please grab that post. We have Donald Trump saying, yo, the oil is flowing. Oil is flowing in Iran. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. The world will be safe. The stock markets are roaring. Jobs are at records and prices are dropping. Affordability, our country is strong, safe, and respected like never before. You are welcome, says Donald Trump. President Trump. Let's go ahead and check in on those oil prices. Oil is officially below $4 a gallon. It is exactly as we predicted. It is precisely what we said was going to happen. You love it when that happens. Let's go ahead and look at it. Let's look at the crude futures. $73. Below $4 a gallon. A reminder that the national average was $2 a gallon on December 16th, 2025. $2 a gallon equates to $65 a barrel gasoline. At $73 a barrel, you can do the math. We're $7 away from oil moderating down to $2 a gallon. Will it be there by the midterms? I bet it will. And by the way, the national average includes California that slaps a $2 tax on every gallon of gasoline. And a number of other dumb states like Florida that has way too high of gas prices and too high of taxes to offset, I think, a number of other tax necessities here in the state. So we'll be working on that. And ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to have trusted the plan. We are proud to see the president winning. And the president watched our next guest win big at the White House just a few nights ago. We are honored to have on the program Bo Nickel, who fought and got a monster KO right in front of President Trump. And he's a man of his word, and something you should really respect. Bo told me hours before precisely what he was going to do. If you wouldn't mind, hey, pop that up. Pop up the post real fast. Bo said, "I'm going." We were having breakfast, and Bo goes, "I'm going to knock this guy out. I'm going to do it right in front of the president. Then I'm going to jump on the cage, and I'm going to shout out the troops, And then I'm going to hop over the cage and I'm going to dap up our president. And that is precisely what Bo Nickel did. So he's a man of his word. Sorry, guys, couldn't find it fast enough. Come on, you were so close. Well, there you go. There it is. Here we go. Zoom down. You almost had it, Klein. There you go. Last one. Keep going. There you go. Show me that. Show me that. Show me the KO. There you go. Klein's a big UFC fan. There you go. See ya. See ya. Sleep. Go to sleep. And then what does the man do? I mean, trust people who don't lie to you. What does Bo do? He jumps the fence here in the octagon, under the claw, and then he hops right over to President Trump. There you go. Thing of beauty. And and look at that. Something that was not reported in this was that 70% of the audience were active duty service members. And there it goes right over to Trump. Badass. Let's find out what that was like. Joining us live now, UFC superstar, now nationally ranked Bo Nickel. Here we go. So confident, Bo. It was very much, what's the famous Muhammad Ali, Babe Ruth pointing to the fence? Similar to that. Similar vibes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, it was, I think that for me, visualization and knowing the end before the beginning starts is really important. So, you got to have an idea what you're trying to do out there and go make it happen.
Still, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, I know that you sort of have tunnel vision, and you've been on championship stages before. You've seen that. You've felt that pressure. You're a 3-time NCAA champ in collegiate wrestling, but this is unlike any other stage in world history, and maybe will never happen again in world history. So it's a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that the thing about pressure is really interesting because obviously you can let it control you, or you can just, meet it and attack it. And I always feel like the pressure is something that you choose, right? Like, I'm not forced to fight. I don't have to go out there and do this. I want to do it. I love it. I train every day, so I'm prepared to go do my best out there. And so the pressure is something that, you can look at it like, oh man, there's all this pressure. Like, how am I going to deal with this? Or you can look at it as like, hey, this is an opportunity. I get to be the one that goes out there and does this. So I'm just grateful for it. And I just try to have fun with it.
Can you tell us the behind the scenes of the walkouts? Because even as much as the fights, and I think it's the first time that you had 8 out of 8 KOs ending matches, and not to insult the work that you do in the ring, but it was, bro, the walkouts went insane. Yeah. They went insane. How did that go?
Man, it was amazing. Going in, it's going to be special just because of the circumstance and the nuance and how amazing it is. On Thursday, we ran through the walkouts to kind of get an idea of what it was going to be like. And at that point, I was like really in awe. I was just wowed. And, you had all the service members there. I was next to a service member as well as a Medal of Honor winner, which was just unbelievable. Such a cool thing. And the band was insane. And I'm glad I got to do the walkthrough because honestly, I got a little emotional during it. It was just like, this is so special and so big, and I feel so grateful. And then, fight night was even more amazing, having the crowd there, having President Trump, as well as, so many friends and supporters of mine. It was just like, it was unbelievable.
So you when you're walking through the White House, I mean, what's that like? When because you're obviously being followed by a big camera crew. Yeah. You have heroes on, both sides of you, so you're walking out, but your tunnel is the White House. Your tunnel is the most historic home in the world, arguably.
Yeah. Yeah. You just, for me, I was just trying to enjoy it. I always just try to, smile and have fun and be present. And it was so cool to be there with, as you mentioned, the service members, the heroes of our country, and, my team, and having everybody there to experience it was the coolest thing. And then I felt like, walking through, just seeing the history, just kind of understanding, feeling the gravity of that moment was so special. And then once I got outside I felt like I was in front of 4,000 or 5,000 of my best friends. So it felt like a home match. And I got into the cage, and I looked, and right where my cornermen were, it was my cornermen. Right next to them was President Trump, and I was like, wow, like he's in my corner. Like that's pretty cool, pretty special.
Gaethje went viral for staring at the Declaration of Independence. He later said he couldn't read it, and he can't read. So that's cool. But like, it's neat to see him respecting it, even if he can't read it. Even more respectful, frankly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good for you. He's trying to understand, and I think that's special about him. Is he's trying to learn. 38 is an amazing age to learn how to read. Anyway, the point is, was there anything inspiring inside of the White House? Was there any moment where you were like, this is giving me inspiration. This is giving me like pure America maxing inspiration?
I think that for me, where I really felt inspired, I mean, there were so many moments, but one of the most inspiring moments, so where we warmed up was in the Eisenhower building, and then we had to cross the street. And so they tell us, ready to go, let's get in the elevator, go cross the street. So I go downstairs, walk outside, and then I have this picture just of like, on my right is kind of like the lawn, you see the kind of setup, and then on the, like to the left of that is just the White House. And I'm just like, wow, like I'm about to walk in here and do this. And that moment to me, I felt very grateful and appreciative and very inspired just to see, like, knowing that's where I'm going to be in a few short minutes. I'm going to walk through the most historic building on the planet, be able to go through that with, my friends and family, and then walk into this arena and compete. That was where I felt really like, all right, it's go time. Like, let's do this.
So you get the I think it was the second round, right?
First round, end of the first round.
Sorry. Yep. So first round, KO, and then you did exactly what you said you were going to do. I'm going to hop the fence. I'm going to shout out the service members, and then I'm going to hop on over to President Trump. Mm-hmm. And we have some epic photos that we'll cycle through here. Trump, obviously, standing up for you. What happened in this moment?
Yeah, it was just such a surreal moment. So, I'll rewind real quick. Back in 2019, when I won the NCAA championship in wrestling, I was able to visit the White House. And that was the first time that I met President Trump. I'd kind of been a fan before. The first election I got to vote in, I voted for him, which was cool. And so then in 2019, getting to meet him was really special. And I told him, he asked what I was going to do after wrestling. I said, I'm going to fight in the UFC. And he was like, he actually said, do you need an agent? And I told him I would, appreciate that, but I think he's probably a little busy. But it was just, really, really cool moment. And so I kind of just brought that up and came full circle to like, hey, in 2019 we met, I told you I was going to fight, and look where we're at now. I just can't thank you enough for making this happen. And I'm so grateful for our relationship and his support. So it was just a big, big thank you to him, really.
We have the moment right here. We'll pop it up. What is it that you said to him?
I said, none of this would have been possible without you, and just means the world to me to have been a part of the event. I love him, and thank you for everything that he does for us. So it was just, a lot of gratitude for him. This is an event that is just, it's never going to be replicated. It's never going to happen again. And it's so special to have been a part of it. So I'm just really appreciative.
What did he say back to you?
He just said, you're the man and good work. And that was about it. Later, he called me and told me I just did a fantastic job. And we just talked about the event a little bit and stuff, which was cool. And I mean, he's, such a special guy. So it still doesn't, like, I think back on it and I'm like, did that really happen? Like, is all that, like, that really happened, right? Like, luckily we have video evidence that it did, because otherwise it doesn't really seem real.
That's crazy. So in the middle of like the G7 and the signing of the peace treaty and Versailles, he picks up the phone and calls you to be like, what's up, man?
Yeah, no, the dude, he loves fighting. He loves it, loves the sport, loves the competitiveness. I think that there's just a lot of alignment with him and fighters, and just the way he, handles his business and handles our country. So, it's a real genuine thing from him. I can feel it. As a fighter, you can tell when people are like kind of somewhat in it, like, oh, like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But he's like really in it, which I appreciate.
Yeah. I mean, he's locked in. I mean, if there's anybody who should be on their phone or should be spaced out or should be thinking about other things, or has other things on their plate as President Trump.
Of course.
And he sat there locked in ringside for the next 3.5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love his reactions too. Like, he just is, you can tell he's just seasoned in there. He's like a veteran of combat sports, like understanding what's going on. And like, he watches the fights and the knockout happens and he's like it's not like a big crazy, like he's just been there, done that, and he just knows what's going on, which is cool. I mean, conversations that I have with him, we'll talk about, other fighters, the rest of the division. Like, it's like I'm talking with, one of my coaches or a teammate, because he's very on the ball with all that stuff, which is crazy to me because he's obviously has so much on his plate.
Right. That's right. What is there anything to the rumor that you helped him sign the Iran peace deal and that he was leaning on you deeply for knowledge and that you helped negotiate with the Iranians?
Oh man. Yeah, of course. Right. He's running a lot of that stuff by me.
Good. That's great. Thank you, Bo. I mean, we're like appreciative for you and your Farsi knowledge. We're like really like that's a special thing you don't know about Bo.
No, I'm dialed.
Okay. So just one final question about the fight. You like, when did you see the opportunity for the knockout? What is it that goes on? What sequence of events goes on to take that, sequence the way that you did? And maybe we'll pop it back up on screen here.
Yeah.
And can you talk me through that? Because that's a choice, it's an extraordinary number of series of choices that you make, and you make them correctly in order to get the KO.
For sure. No, that's a good way to put it. And everything's happening in a split second. So really got to give a lot of credit to my training, to my coaches, my team, the guys at American Top Team, Mike Brown, Ailton Barboza, that are able to, help me day in, day out, be prepared for those moments. And I think that, again, I mentioned earlier, but visualization is really important for me. So I visualized about 100 different ways to finish the fight. That was one of them that kind of popped in my mind, was like, throwing that front kick up the middle. I felt like after we were stood up from the ground, my opponent's reactions were a little slower, a little more labored, and they didn't seem like, so I saw kind of an opportunity to, use some of my athleticism and be able to land something. And so I throw the front kick up the middle. It grazes his cheek. And I was like, really quickly, like, oh man, like if I would have thrown it like an inch further, he would have been unconscious. Like it would have been dead. And, but I also like noticed he kind of winced a little bit. Like I could tell like it hurt him. And in that moment, just understanding, like, you got to go in for the kill. Like you can't be hesitant. So I immediately went boom, left hand, right, followed up with the right hook. And he went down. And then, I knew like just at that point, he's just trying to not get hurt any worse. So just throw some elbows, finish him off. The ref's going to stop it. And yeah, that was a dream come true.
And you turn around, you can see it in the footage here. You turn around right to Trump.
Yeah.
You can see, you're like, look, you did a Hail Caesar is what you did.
Exactly. He was doing this one.
Well, yeah, that's right. Amazing. Maybe a final question about what this all means. I mean, I'm like taking it all in. It was really special. For me, it's like it seems like a refoundation of American masculinity, conquest, violent combat that builds nations, right, and that strengthens men and that strengthens cultures. And you need to have strong men to have a good culture and have a peaceful place for our wives and family and children to live. And you want that. And you didn't get that, of course, in the last few years. You got the opposite of that, sort of like the feminist, longhouse, passive-aggressive, estrogenic culture that attacked manhood, that attacked masculinity, and attacked combat sports and so on. And we all heard the stories from Dana. I mean, they would have banned UFC if they could have. They've tried to 1,000,000 times. Right? They don't want that. They don't want even the sport to exist. And so to see it in a place of extreme to see it glorified, right? And then to see, what Dana tells me is like more views than maybe the biggest viewed sporting event in history. Mm-hmm. I guess they're consolidating all of it right now. That's really neat. And it seems like an inflection point. And so what does that mean, I guess, for culture?
Yeah, for me, I love the momentum that we have, and the shift in, it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to just handle things in a way that isn't always just like soft and mushy. And I understand, wanting to have empathy towards others, but also understanding like what's right and wrong. And so I feel like really this is such a significant moment, and it's such a important. I'm grateful to have been a small piece in what this really represents, right? The fact that there was fights on the White House lawn. It's of course a sporting event, but it represents something much bigger than that. It represents a shift in culture that's, hey, this is okay. Like, it's okay to stand up for yourself. It's okay to fight. It's okay to have strong beliefs, and it's okay to compete. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world to, have winners and losers, and you learn either way. You learn from wins, you learn from losses, and we're going to go compete. Nobody gets a participation trophy. And that's real life. And, it's exciting because I have 2 young boys, and I want to raise them to be, great men, people that compete, people that treat others well, and have and men of character. And I think that combat sports, especially fighting, it's a microcosm for that. Because of course I want to go win fights, and of course I have goals within my career, but all these things that I'm doing, it's building character. It's teaching me lessons, and I'm learning day in, day out how I want to, what type of man I want to be. And so really these are just lessons for me, and reinforcements on how I want to live my life, how I want to treat other people, how I want to go about my days and my business and things like that. So really it's exciting to, I've just been a part of it. And I hope that people see the example of, a lot of great men, and they're able to follow that and understand themselves better, and really just, be the best they can be day in, day out.
It's an amazing example. It's so good for culture. I have 2 boys as well. It's so important for culture to see that culture needs strong men to create good times, to create safety, and they need men that are willing to do hard things and are willing to, commit violence if they need to conquer, right? To be in combat. Like, that's really how all great societies are made.
Yeah, a lot of the guys that I know who are the best fighters in the world, they're not guys that are, trying to fake bravado, act macho in the street, or fight people in the street. Like, we're fighting each other every day in training and stuff, and we're capable of that. But we're also, the most calm and, decisive, intelligent people under pressure. Like, that's what this is really doing. It's building the character and the skills that it takes to make good decisions under pressure, and, not be the first person to enact violence, even though you can. And that's where I think that I see the positives, in culturally. It's like, you need to be able to do that. You need to be able to have wisdom and discern, when to do it, when not to do it, and, not be a bully, but also understand hey, I can protect myself. I can protect the people I love, and I'm capable of doing that. I have the confidence to be able to do that. I'm not scared of a little bit of a confrontation.
You're not scared of having Ilia Topuro's face after the fight. I mean, oh my gosh. Okay, final. Did that surprise you?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most viral photo in my timeline. Is the before and after.
I was shocked, and thinking about it, I really just, only thing I can equate it to is a Rocky movie, because Justin Gaethje is obviously a American badass who has put in some unbelievable performances and unbelievable amount of effort into the sport, and was really everyone was counting him out. Everything seemed, his odds were insurmountable to pretty much everybody outside of him, and he went out there and made it happen. So I was surprised, but that just proves you never doubt America. And you given the opportunity, it doesn't matter what the odds are, America's going to make it happen.
America's going to make it happen. That was the Spanish-American War, man. That was brutal. I mean, people are calling it maybe the best UFC fight in history, and it's really something to witness. An amazing moment for America. Thank you for being part of it. The audience loves you. Godspeed, Bo. Everybody can follow Bo here on his social media. His X account has hundreds of thousands of followers, and we're going to get Bo to championship match here in what, a couple? I mean, you get a shot here. You might get a shot. You're right.
Definitely. Yeah, probably, I would say within the next 12 months, that's the plan for me. So,
man, exciting. Godspeed, man. We'll be in your corner. Team Bo all the way.
Thanks, Benny. You're the man.
A solid gold evening. One of my favorite nights. My favorite professional night of my life, actually, was witnessing that. It was historic. Advantage Gold, ladies and gentlemen, is how you can invest in real physical gold. It was a golden memory, I guess. But if you want a lot of golden memories in your actual retirement plan, physical gold and silver is the way that you do it. Advantage Gold, ladies and gentlemen. Text Benny to 85545. Right now, get started with a gold investment kit. Advantage Gold, ladies and gentlemen. If you have paper that's backing your retirement, well, it could be reduced to the price of paper. If you have gold, then it'll be reduced to the price of gold. That's why rich families buy assets. Sometimes it's expensive art. Sometimes it's property. You can buy gold. I buy gold. Data and message rates do apply, but you should text today, Benny, to 85545, Advantage Gold. Discover how to move your retirement into physical gold and silver. Advantage Gold. Ladies and gentlemen, we have JD Vance live right now at the White House. Didn't want to cut Bo short.
Allowed to have any self-defense.
Here's our vice president.
That's not what the president has asked.
Doing
That's
a
not
press
what the president has requested. But as part of the final deal, what we want to see is Iran not funding regional instability, funding regional terrorism, and of course trying to rebuild their nuclear weapons program. That's the main thing. The nuclear weapons program is destroyed. It is gone. If the Iranians decided tomorrow to build a nuclear weapon, they simply don't have the capacity in order to do that. What we're trying to ensure is they don't rebuild that capacity, not just a year from now, 2 years from now, but many, many years from now, so that our children never have to worry about a state sponsor of terrorism having a nuclear weapon.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You were just saying that you're hoping this deal would prevent Iran in the future from getting a nuclear weapon. But from what's been put out there of the MOU, I'm curious, how does the MOU reflect that in the future Iran will not, in fact, get a nuclear weapon? What's stopping them from down the road, to your point, rebuilding and restarting from where we were pre the war?
Well, number one, they would have to get a lot of money in order to rebuild their nuclear program. You're talking about billions and billions of nuclear infrastructure that the United States destroyed. In order for them to rebuild that program, they would have to get a lot of money. And we have them in an economic chokehold right now that we're not going to release until they fundamentally change their behavior. What would that look like? That would mean a real inspections regime. That would mean a real enforcement regime. As the MOU contemplates, that would mean the destruction of their enriched stockpile. All of these things are the sorts of steps you're going to take if you're serious about ending your nuclear weapons program. And that, again, is why I go back to this fundamental trade that's built into the deal. They need money to do anything. Their economy is in absolute dire straits. But in order for them to get any integration into the world economy, they're going to have to show us and verify for us that they are changing their behavior. And that's why the deal is set up in the way that it is. Go ahead.
President Trump said yesterday that he was going to blame you if the talks with Iran go sideways. Are you worried that he's going to make you the fall guy?
No, not at all. I mean, I think the president was joking, but as he often does. But no, I think, look, the entire team has worked very well on this, and we've got this thing to a very good place for the American people. Now, I have seen some progressive criticisms of me personally saying, what experience does the Vice President of the United States have with hostile, high-stakes negotiations? And I would point those progressive critics to the fact that just 2 days ago, I spent over an hour on The View. So I actually have great experience in very hostile negotiations, and I've used that. I mean, look, Joy Behar is way tougher than the Iranians, and she and I are best friends now. So we're going to get to a good place here. We're going to get to a good place. We're already at a good place. It's just a question of whether we can really get the icing on the top of fundamentally transforming Iran's relationship with the world. Go ahead.
Thank you. A couple of just timing questions. How soon, as the MOU lays out, can Iran start selling any of its oil that has sort of been impounded, right, with the blockade? And two, can you sort of explain the Lebanon component to the MOU and how that front works and the enforceability of it?
Yeah, so the Lebanon component, this is about regional peace, right? This is about regional peace. And what that means is we expect Hezbollah is not going to be firing rockets and firing drones at the Israelis. And we also expect that the Israelis are not going to be going wild in Lebanon, right? Both sides have to honor their end of the deal. Now, as you guys know, sometimes these ceasefires are a little messy. The President of the United States said this a couple of weeks ago, that a ceasefire in that region of the world just means they're shooting a little bit less at each other than they were before. What you've seen is radical progress in Lebanon, less shooting, less firing, but you're still going to have these little flare-ups from time to time, and that's just the sort of thing that we're going to have to manage through the diplomatic process. Secretary Rubio's been sort of the person on point. It's actually worked out extraordinarily well because we do have substantially less shooting, but it's going to be something we have to manage. And eventually what we want to see is the Lebanese government, the elected representatives of the people of Lebanon, who are able to police southern Lebanon so that Hezbollah has not taken over the country, the Israelis are not threatened, and then consequently the Israelis are not attacking southern Lebanon or Beirut either. That's the plan there. You asked about the Iranian oil. Look, one of the interesting things that you've seen is that the Iranians have been completely unable to sell oil, not because of sanctions, but because of the blockade. Fundamentally, the thing that we have done here, the original, what we give, what they give, is that we said we're going to lift the blockade, we're going to allow you to sell some of your oil, and they're going to open the Strait of Hormuz. We see that process starting to work already. It's going to take a little time before it picks up fully, but that's where we are today. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. The MOU, just on the Strait, the MOU guarantees these 60 days of toll-free passage, but after that it has, of course, led to a regional dialogue with Oman and Iran deciding the future governance of the Strait. A senior U.S. official told us yesterday that they expect Iran to push aggressively on this, but also that Gulf states won't allow any kind of tolls. How strenuously will the U.S. fight to keep tolls out of the Strait and keep any fees away from the future Strait commercial traffic? And are you going to leave it to the Gulf states to kind of fight this battle?
Well, first of all, we believe international waterways should be free of tolls, and that's been our position. That's what you see, of course, in the 60 days of the MOU. And when you say it leaves it open, it doesn't really leave it open, except in the sense that, of course, the final negotiation is going to set the terms of what comes afterwards, right? You said, I think that it's the Omanis and the Iranians, but it's actually the MOU contemplates that the Omanis, the Iranians, and the Gulf Coast Coalition together will figure out a proper security framework for the Straits in the future. And what I mean by that is that we don't ever want this to happen again. Right? That's not about tolling. That's about ensuring that the Straits are never used as a choke point for the global economy ever again. It's frankly not what the Iranians want. It's not what the Omanis want. It's not what the GCC wants either. So what we're going to do, of course, working with our allies in the region, is to ensure that that is reflected in the final deal. And if that's not reflected in the final deal, there's not going to be a final deal. And that is, I keep coming back to this fundamental structural point of this negotiation, which is that we have all the cards. If the Iranians want the benefits of the bargain, they have to give us the things that are necessary to get those benefits. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
We'll do both. Okay. Both you guys. There's one in the white and then one in, orange, I think.
What about the pink?
I'm sorry? Okay. Maybe I'm colorblind. It looks more orange to me. I don't want to have a debate about that. Orange, pinkish. You go first, and then in front of you can go second.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. How does the points about granting some immediate waivers on sanctions, especially from the Treasury Department, how does that square with the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act? And are you planning on briefing Congress on this portion?
Yeah, so I talked to James Braid, our head of OLA. We do plan to brief Congress very soon. I believe that they got the formal copy of the signed document this morning, and if not, they're going to get it at some point later today. We are planning a briefing. I believe right now the House is out of session, the Senate is in session, though maybe I've reversed that. But we're going to ensure that the team briefs Congress and, of course, answers their questions. We've been doing that informally, of course, talking to a number of people in Congress just over the last week. We'll keep on doing that, and we'll have a formal briefing. I won't say exactly when that will be because it depends a little bit about session schedule. Your point about the sanctions is I'll go back to what I said earlier, which is really the choke point on Iranian oil was never the sanctions. We didn't see that as a major concession to the Iranians. Frankly, the Iranians didn't see that as a concession to them because what prevented them from selling oil was not the sanctions. They were selling plenty of oil without any discount because the sanctions were just fundamentally ineffective at that point. What the sanctions did do is move the Iranian financial system to sort of the shadow banking system. So by lifting the blockade, that's the significant thing that has changed. And by lifting the sanctions, we're actually going to be able to see a little bit where their financial system actually sends money and receives money. That's a real benefit to the American people. And that's really the only thing that has changed by the change in sanctions.
from
Oh,
the...
sorry, I forgot that part of the question. No, we don't think so. We actually have an opinion from OLC we feel quite confident about that, Congress does, there are certain things that require congressional approval. There are certain things that don't require congressional approval. We feel quite confident that we can temporarily lift those sanctions without going to Congress and seeking their approval on that.
Apparently, there's been reports coming out of Israel that Iran is already funneling oil money to Hezbollah even before this particular MOU was signed. And how exactly is the U.S. looking at this? If we're talking about behavior on part of Iran, I mean, October 7th happened. And if there's concern that perhaps Hezbollah could end up doing some sort of attack on that scale, then, how exactly are we talking about the reaction from the United States? If we're talking about perhaps a humongous scale attack that actually could happen, are we waiting for that type of attack? I mean, what exactly is a scale here?
Sorry, you said what exactly is a scale?
Well, I mean, like, what type of attack would it take to actually get a reaction from the United States to say, okay, now we're actually going to start dropping bombs on Iran for having bad behavior?
Well, we don't want a scale of any attack. Any attack, whatever its scale, is unacceptable under this agreement. Now, you asked the question saying that oil money was flowing to Hezbollah before the MOU was signed. And it's one of the reasons why we are actually engaged in this process is to ensure that no money is flowing to Hezbollah. So it's interesting where people will say that the MOU is bad because the MOU produces consequences that were actually happening well before the MOU was signed. That's not a reflection on the MOU. That's a reflection of why we need the MOU to ensure that we have the regional peace and stability that we need. Now, what I would say to some of the critics of the deal that I've heard that will say, well, Iran's going to get all this benefit. I'll repeat what I've said, and I'm probably going to have to repeat it a number of times, is what is the benefit that the Iranians get that they didn't have before? And the answer is nothing. They don't get anything unless they change their behavior. If they change their behavior, that is a thing to celebrate. That's going to transform the Middle East for a generation. If they don't change their behavior, they don't get the benefit of the bargain. And I think, I got to be honest, I think fundamentally this idea that, and it's a misrepresentation of the MOU, this idea that the Iranians get all these benefits before the deal is actually consummated. The idea that they get benefits before they change their behavior is fundamentally a talking point that is issued by people who want the conflict to continue indefinitely, despite the fact that that's not good for the American people and it's not good for the region. Way in the back. All the way back in the red.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Vice President.
Red here, you mean? Are you red?
We'll do, okay, sorry.
Thank you. I'm wearing bright red.
So many people are wearing red. You can go first. Kara, right?
Thank you, Kara.
Okay,
Thank
and then
you.
next after that.
Okay, great. Could you highlight the major differences between this deal and President Obama's deal in 2015 and why the administration believes that this deal is superior? And second, Mr. Vice President, President Trump has been vocal lately about his disapproval for Bibi Netanyahu's attacks on Lebanon. Has the administration spoken to Bibi Netanyahu directly about the president's concerns recently, and what is the feedback from Israel?
Yeah, so we speak to Bibi or speak to somebody in the Israeli government, just as we speak to the Gulf Coast Coalition, our regional partners, pretty much every day, at least at some high level of our government. Look, the president's been very clear. He does not withdraw from Israel. No one could withdraw from another country the right of self-defense. Israel has the right to defend itself. But fundamentally, the Israelis, just like everybody else, have to respect this peace process that is fundamentally good for them and good for the entire region. What the president gets grown frustrated sometimes is that we seem to be right on the cusp of a major breakthrough in the agreement, and then all of a sudden there's a major explosion that goes off in a civilian population center in Beirut, and a lot of people who have nothing to do with Hezbollah lose their lives. That's not acceptable. That's the sort of thing that we've asked for closer coordination so that we ensure it doesn't happen. And our message to the Israelis, just as our message to everybody else, is fundamentally, we want this peace process to be good for you. We do not want Hezbollah attacking Israel. But in order to ensure that that happens, we have got to actually build the kind of regional framework that can cut off the money to Hezbollah, cut off Iranian support for Hezbollah, and also ensure that Lebanon's territorial sovereignty is respected by all parties. And the difference between the two agreements. So first of all, The two big differences are not even in the substance of the deal itself, but something I said earlier are, number one, the Gulf Coast Coalition loves this deal because they think that it makes Iran weaker. They hated the Obama deal because they thought that it made Iran stronger. They know more about this, and they have more to lose than anybody, including the United States of America, so I trust their judgment. The second thing is where the deal came from. You have to remember, in 2015, Iran had built a sophisticated nuclear weapons program with a nuclear weapons stockpile. So the perspective that we came at as the United States was, you already have a really nice nuclear program. We're going to bribe you with American money in order to stop it. Our perspective and where we're coming at it is, we already destroyed your nuclear program. And so if you promise and show verifiable pathways to not rebuild it, then we're willing to give you some sanctions relief and things like that. So it's a fundamentally different perspective. Now, there are all these substantive differences as well. The Obama nuclear deal allowed enrichment. Ours will not. The Obama deal allowed the accumulation of stockpiled weapons-grade material. Ours is actually leading to the destruction of that stockpile of enriched material. So there are many differences. The Obama deal gave them over $1 billion of American money. This deal gives them $0 of American money. So a lot of substantive differences, but I think the most important differences are where we're coming at it from a position of strength and the fact that our Gulf Coast partners love this deal. No, sorry. I said the other, all the way in the back. Thank you.
Margaret with the Daily Wire. The president has said that if Iran doesn't behave themselves, we're going to resume military action. So what is the red line for what Iran can do before they cross that red line and we do resume military action?
Well, it's going to be a holistic approach where we look at their behavior. Are they funding terrorism? Are they leading to attacks of other people? Are they trying to get centrifuges to redevelop their nuclear weapons program? There are all these questions that we're going to ask about whether they've actually changed their behavior. Do they allow the inspectors in as they have promised that they would do, or do they refuse to allow those inspectors in? A whole host of things we're going to see. We're working towards a very successful resolution of this process. But again, it takes two to tango. And what the president's just saying is that we maintain economic, diplomatic, and military leverage that nobody else in the world has. So if the Iranians want to change, great. We're going to help them. If they don't change, we still got all the cards. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, sorry. In the blue jacket. Yep.
This one right here. This one right here, Mr. Vice President.
That's a Navy jacket. Should we have a debate about the difference between blue and Navy? Not that guy, because you give a speech whenever you ask a question. I'm going to give her an opportunity. Hold on. Guys, you're speaking over the person who's asking the question.
There's been a lot of frustrations with Americans, particularly about the gas prices. You touted the fact that they're coming down. The president has gone on True Social touting this. But when should they expect to see gas reach that $3 threshold?
Well, I'm not an economist, and I think even the economists would get this wrong, but the fact that you've seen gas come down about 65 cents a gallon on the national average, and the fact that you see oil prices that are basically close to where they were at the very beginning of the conflict, I think you're going to see a substantial reduction in gas prices. I'm not going to predict the exact price. If I was able to do that, I might be in a different business than politics. But we do think you're going to see significant relief at the pump on top of what we've already seen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You keep saying that Iran will only reap economic rewards if they comply and change their behavior. But under this deal, they are being allowed now to sell their oil freely. Again, how is that not a financial benefit? And they're being allowed to do that without making any new concrete nuclear commitments. So can you explain how is that not lopsided?
Well, first of all, they've made very concrete nuclear commitments. They have committed to the destruction of the highly enriched stockpile that they have in their possession. But number two, all we've done is lift the blockade in the Straits of Hormuz. We basically returned it to where it was before the conflict. The blockade is off. We put that in after the conflict started. The straits are now open. That's not a new benefit to the Iranians. They were selling oil for many, many years, well before we ever put the blockade. We opposed that blockade. They stopped selling oil, and now we've lifted the blockade in order to promote the free flow of energy across the world. Go ahead.
A U.S. official described having secured some of these quote-unquote gentlemen's agreements with Iran on certain aspects of the negotiation. So when it comes to highly enriched uranium, can you walk us through what's been secured even in these kind of gentlemen's agreements on how exactly they're going to get rid of the stockpile? Are there agreements on low-grade enrichment? How long is the moratorium on enriching uranium for Iran? And are any of these gentlemen's agreements written down anywhere?
So some of them are written down, but fundamentally, whether they're written down or spoken, this is why we structured the deal that we did, because we don't trust words. We trust action, and we trust conduct. And so we're going to reward conduct, and we're not going to reward any words, whether they're written on a sheet of paper or not. There's a lot of discussion, the MOU, the gentleman's agreements, the final deal. Words don't matter, ladies and gentlemen. We're about verification. And so what we're going to do is to say, if they do the things that they have promised to do, they have promised not to enrich. They have promised that they would allow inspectors in to destroy that highly enriched stockpile, and then, of course, it's not usable anymore. You take it somewhere else. They promised a number of things, and that's why the deal contemplates a number of benefits if they do those things. But it doesn't do anything if they don't actually meet those promises. Go ahead.
Follow up on that, sir.
Go ahead.
If they don't follow through with their commitment, will the U.S. go back to imposing sanctions and the blockade? Or does Iran get to keep some of the concessions that it has already secured?
Well, first of all, the sanctions are still on with the exception of the oil sanctions, which I talked about were no longer effective. The purpose of the oil sanctions is to drive down how much Iran is charging for a price for a barrel of oil. Those sanctions had stopped being effective. The blockade is what's effective. And again, that's the thing that has changed in accordance with them opening the Strait of Hormuz. No sanctions will come off unless they perform the benefit of the bargain, and every sanction will come back on. Like hypothetically, let's say 2 years down the road, they've done what we need to see on the nuclear program, and we release the sanctions as the deal contemplates. Then they decide they're going to start rebuilding the nuclear program. Then, of course, those sanctions are going to come back on. And that's why it's really kind of like a dial. As they dial up their good behavior, we can dial up the economic relief. If they dial down their good behavior, we can turn it off. It's the good thing about having the leverage, and it's a good thing about being the United States of America, where we just fundamentally have so much influence in the world financial system. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Leader Thune said it's unrealistic to get the Save America Act passed by attaching it to FISA, which is what the president's looking for. Do you believe this is possible?
Well, why don't we try? Why don't we try and at least force people to vote against it? One of the things that sometimes frustrates me about the legislative process is that people will go into it saying, this isn't possible, therefore we're not even going to try. Well, let's actually see. Let's try it. And if it's not possible, then let the people put their name on it. This is also good for the American people. How many American senators know that the American people love the Save America Act because they believe in voter ID? But how many of those same senators don't want to vote for it because they know that the radical elements within their own party would punish them for it? Let people go on the record and actually answer to the American people, which is why I think we should do exactly as the president said. Rob. Rob.
Thank you very much. On Monday, we were told the MOU will be published within 48 hours. The president then said after Friday. You, I think, then said by Friday, and then it ended up being read out on a briefing call yesterday. We were told the MOU had been signed electronically on Sunday. There was an active report that it hadn't been. There's going to be a signing ceremony on Friday, and then it signed at Versailles last night. Is what's going on behind the scenes as chaotic as your public messaging?
Well, I don't think our public messaging has been chaotic. I think dealing with a fractured Iranian system where communication isn't great is just sometimes something that we don't fully appreciate or we don't fully understand. What really happened here is that we did sign the MOU on Sunday. That locked into the terms of the deal. What the Iranians came to us and said is, we'd like not to release the text until Friday. I didn't really understand that. I wanted to get the text out immediately. But in order to be accommodating to them, we said, sure, okay, we'll wait until Friday. And then what happened over Monday, Tuesday, the president was in G7. Maybe foreign leaders were talking to the Iranians and encouraging them to do that. We were definitely saying to them, we understand your desire not to have the text out until Friday, but we live in a democratic system. The American people want to see the text of this deal. We would certainly like to get it out as soon as possible. And so they came up with having their president sign it, our president sign it, and then just releasing the text as a signed document immediately at that point. I do wonder, Rob, this is pure conjecture. I'm just guessing at this. I wonder if part of it is that they wanted to have a Persian translation a Farsi translation that they felt good about. And then, of course, once they translate it into Farsi, our State Department has to confirm that the Farsi translation matches the meaning of the English. I think that is part of what was going on here. But the text is out there now. We said that we would be transparent about it. But the reason why it went back and forth a little bit about when exactly the text would be released is just we were trying to show good faith to the Iranians who, for reasons I have no idea, cared a lot about how the text itself was rolled out. Blue tie there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. As you know, because you were involved in this process, the MOU allows for Iran to sell its oil right away, which means that Iran can take in on a monthly basis tens of millions of dollars. Iran's economy was in tatters. How is this not essentially giving a lifeline to Iran economically? And what's to prevent Iran from using all of that money, all of those millions of dollars, to prop up its proxies in the region?
Well, the number one thing is that we actually see where the money moves now because of what we've done with the financial sanctions. We actually know where the money is going to move. And so we have great confidence that we're going to be able to see if they try to fund terrorist organizations, we're going to be able to see that. But you said that millions of dollars is a lifeline. Right now, the Iranian nation is a nation of 94 million people. Their economy is in a free fall. They have sky-high inflation, and fundamentally, about $1 trillion of damage to their industrial base was caused over the last 3 months. The idea that selling a few $1 million worth of or a few $1 million worth of oil is going to fundamentally transform the Iranian economy, that's just not true. We thought that it would be good in order to lift the blockade and open the Straits of Hormuz to allow the free flow of energy. We felt that it was reasonable that if we're going to allow everybody else to sell their energy during this period of negotiation, we would allow everyone to sell their energy. That's all we're doing. We can slap everything right back on if the Iranians don't make the deal that we expect. Yeah. Either one. Either one. Yeah, no, yeah. Guys, how about both of you? Go ahead.
Mr. Vice President, so President Trump said we'll finish one, talking about Iran, and he said then Cuba is next. Is Cuba next? And also on Colombia, Mr. Vice President, he has mentioned Colombia 3 times this week. Why is it so important, the election day in Colombia for President Trump?
You guys have to ask Marco about Cuba. That's not... Look, our view, go ahead in a second, but let me just actually answer this guy's question. Fundamentally in Cuba, it is a system that hasn't worked. They can't make any money. Their economy is frankly probably in worse shape than the Iranian economy. It's 90 miles from our shore, so every time that there's a crisis, you end up having desperate refugees or desperate, people who can't feed their families trying to flood into our country. We want the people of Cuba to be happy and successful. We're actually talking to the Cuban government right now about how they could change their ways to change that. We're going to see what they do, and obviously, if they do one thing, we're going to do something. If they make smart decisions, we're going to have a much better relationship with that island. Go ahead.
Mr. Vice President. Mr. Vice President, thank you so much. I know that you are still not sure if you are going to run for president in 2028, but if you do not, is there anyone in particular that you would want to see run?
What's your name?
Stephen Kapuska, sir.
I want Stephen Kapuska to run for president in 2028. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice President Vance. I've got 2 questions. Could you describe the status of your Switzerland trip? Are you definitely still going? What are your plans? And also, if you could drill down on frozen funds. There's been a lot of focus on oil sanctions, but on frozen funds, what's your understanding of how much money is frozen? How much of that is in the U.S.? And a senior administration official briefed some of us reporters earlier this week that there might be small antes, is what he said, like small releases of money to build trust with the Iranians early on. Could you describe that whole situation?
So on the frozen funds, the amount of money, I honestly don't know. I've heard numbers north of $100 billion. I've actually heard numbers north of $200 billion. Most of it is not in United States accounts. Most of it's either in the Gulf or in Europe or somewhere else. But I don't know the exact amount of money. It's a lot. It's one of the reasons why we've had such a successful chokehold on the Iranian economy, though by not even close to the main reason. We're not releasing a single dollar of that money until the Iranians perform. And there are a number of ways they could perform. For example, let's say they actually take meaningful steps, and this could happen very quickly, to destroy that stockpile of enriched material, then we're going to have a conversation about it. But they have to perform. I've seen some reports, I don't know where this came from, that the Qataris had released billions of dollars in Iranian assets. That's just not true. It would be impossible for the Qataris to do that without our buy-in, and certainly without us seeing it. So a lot of this reporting is just fundamentally wrong. They don't get $1 of unfrozen assets, their money, not our money, but they don't get $1 of unfrozen assets until they actually perform under the deal. You asked about Switzerland. Our plan is to go to Switzerland. I don't know exactly when. The way that we're setting up this technical negotiation is that obviously you're going to have the political leadership involved. Excuse me. We're going to have people on the ground actually driving the technical talks, the nuclear talks. How do you destroy this highly enriched uranium? All that stuff that you really just have to get into the nitty gritty on. So, I plan to go to Switzerland. Exactly when, we think these technical negotiations are going to start sometime this weekend. That's still the plan, but that could change because it's not an easy country, Iran, to get out of. And so we're trying to figure out exactly when that's going to happen. I suspect this weekend, but I'm not sure. I may, it just depends on exactly when the Iranians can get there. We're trying to figure that out as we speak. But again, I suspect it will happen this weekend. We're going to find out exactly when over the coming days. Go ahead, babe.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Vice President. Just two questions for you. To follow up on an earlier question, Secretary Rubio said in March that the goal of this war was to, quote, to eliminate the threat of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles. You just said earlier that the military program is destroyed. U.S. intelligence estimates that Iran still retains roughly 70% of its pre-war ballistic and cruise missile stockpile. So when did the administration decide to abandon that part of the original mission? And then just second as well, moving forward, are you leading the U.S. team moving forward in terms of the negotiations? How involved will you be?
Yeah, so I'm certainly planning to lead the U.S. negotiating team. But on the first question, you talked about an intelligence report that was anonymously leaked to a reporter that was not with context, and that frankly is not accurate. What has changed about the Iranian ballistics missile program is it matters much less the number of missiles they have, the number of bullets. What matters much more is the number of launchers they have, and importantly, the teams on the ground that have the capacity to launch those missiles. Their ability to launch missiles has been substantially degraded. Is it zero? No, but it's substantially degraded, and in that sense, we haven't abandoned the mission. We've accomplished that particular part of the mission. If you look at the Gulf Arab allies, and obviously the Israelis who faced a lot, the two of them together faced a brunt of these missile attacks, each of them feels substantially safer today from the Iranian missile threat than they did before. Obviously, that is something that we would like to continue. All the president said yesterday is that you can't expect any country to give up its right of self-defense. You have to have parity, and that's what the president of the United States was talking about. Go ahead. No, guys. Yeah.
Leo's reaction to the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding.
I have it. What did he say?
All right, okay. I'll give you the
The
short
MOU
version. Sir.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. He said.
Go ahead. After you.
I'll give you the short version. All right. He says he welcomes the agreement between the U.S. and Iran. He says it hopes it will help strengthen mutual trust, security, and stability in the Middle East. And he also hopes that it's truly a solution to the war and that the war is really over. What do you say to the Pope, sir?
My response to that is praise Jesus. I'm glad that the Pope has positive things to say about our MOU. I think that the Pope is fundamentally accurate, and it's going to be good for the entire world. But we got to keep working at it to make sure that the Iranians honor the commitments that they've made. And then yes, you in front. Go ahead.
How's your book
Guys, with the thing is, there's so many people in here. I could say the red tie, and then 9 of you start shouting at us. The burgundy tie.
The MOU calls for a
There we go, that guy.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. The MOU calls for a U.S. troop withdrawal from the Gulf region tied to the final deal. Can you say whether the drawdown will affect U.S. forces past Iraq and Syria, where American troops currently help protect Kurdish-held areas from Iranian-backed militias?
Okay, so the drawdown contemplated, again, this is the final deal. This is assuming that the Iranians comply, that they give us verification, that they take real substantial conduct towards this peace agreement. What we're saying is that we will withdraw troops to the pre-conflict level, meaning we're not going to keep a couple of extra aircraft carrier groups over there. The Iranians don't want that. Frankly, we don't want that either. Go ahead. Yeah.
Is not going to be funding that $300 billion fund. Who exactly
Sure.
is funding that? Is that private companies? And I also noticed that your voice is hoarse. Are you sick? Have you been using your voice a lot?
Well, I've been on a bit of a book tour the past couple of days, but I can't promote my book here in the White House press briefing room. I had a cold about a week ago. That and talking a lot about this deal and talking a lot about the book, I'm definitely a little bit hoarse. But you asked, your first question was about
Is funding that $300 billion?
Oh, I see. So what's interesting about this is there is a great desire from the Arab world and from outside the Arab world to actually get involved in Iran if they behave properly. So for example, let's say the United Arab Emirates, who've been a great ally over the last, not just few months, but over the last many years, let's say that they would like to invest in building a power plant. That actually is impossible right now because of the way that U.S. sanctions work. And so what we're saying is that if you behave, and if the Emiratis themselves want to build a power plant, then we will do the sanctions relief necessary to make that possible. The good thing about that is that it actually creates integration, which is leverage. A world where the Gulf Coast Coalition has greater leverage into the Iranian economy is a world where the Iranians are going to be heavily prevented from misbehaving. So it's a lot of the Gulf Coast Coalition, again, they see that Iran is weakened, they see there's an opportunity to build a new relationship there, and they're saying if they behave, and if the United States is willing to allow this to happen, then absolutely we want to change our relationship with Iran. No, well, I mean, I assume that in the United Arab Emirates there would be private money and so forth that would be part of this. But again, this is so far in advance because it assumes a transformation in Iranian behavior. Sure.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice President. As you know, the Iranian-backed groups in the region were involved in this war, and they damaged U.S. facilities and your allies as well. How does this agreement affect Iran-backed groups across the region, especially the Iranian-backed groups in Iraq? And my second question, this agreement requires Iran to stop attacking the Kurdish opposition in Kurdistan region, which they did 2 days ago.
So what this agreement does fundamentally is it requires Iran to behave like a normal country. And if it doesn't, as so many people think that it never will, then it doesn't get any of the economic benefits. And if they do, then that's a great thing for everybody. It's a great thing for the Kurds. It's a great thing for anybody who has been under the brunt or under the threat of Iranian-funded terrorist organizations. The expectation is that Iran will stop that, and if they don't get the benefits of the bargain. John.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Many of the colleagues that you served with in the U.S. Senate and Republican Conference have criticized this deal over the last 24 hours. What is your message, Mr. Vice President, back to them?
So I guess I would say to anybody, any of the critics, is number one, have a little bit of faith in the President of the United States. The idea that he is going to strike a deal that's been bad for the American people, it's preposterous. He is the person who's had the courage to fundamentally transform our relationship with Iran and with a lot of other countries over the last year and a half. He believes in this deal. He is going to see it to completion, and if the Iranians don't comply, we still have every single tool and point of leverage that we have today. That'd be message number one, is have a little faith in the president's ability, given that he's got us this far, to take us the final step. The second thing that I would say is so many of what I've read or heard that people believe about this deal is just fundamentally untrue. It is a memorandum of understanding. It is fundamentally a principle that, yes, the Straits of Hormuz are going to be open immediately, and they already are. Yes, they're going to give up their highly enriched material, but they've got to actually do it. It's about conduct. It's about rewarding good conduct and punishing bad conduct, which in some ways is what we've been doing for the last 3 months vis-a-vis that country anyway. So many of the criticisms, I saw Lindsey Graham came out with a positive statement after expressing some concerns. I think that when people get to understand not just the agreement, but our negotiating posture as a country, they will realize this is an excellent thing for the American people, but that's part of our job. We've got to tell the story about what this means for Americans, how it's going to make all of us safer and more prosperous. That's why I'm here talking to everybody, and we're going to keep on telling that story in the days and weeks to come. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Jordan Conradson with Gateway Pundit. I want to talk back to the Lebanon component of the deal. There's a report in Axios that Netanyahu's fuming over this. Israel doesn't feel bound to the MOU as it relates to Lebanon. If, as you mentioned, your frustration with Israel striking in Beirut, hitting apartment buildings, if that continues, could it torpedo the deal? And what would the U.S.'s response be to a broader war in Lebanon involving Israel and Hezbollah?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into hypotheticals that could torpedo the deal, because I think the president's expectation is that all of our friends, the Israelis, the Arabs in the region, we're going to work together and actually see this deal to completion. Now, I saw the Axios report, that Netanyahu is fuming. That's not reflective of the conversations that I've had with him, but maybe he's saying something to somebody else that he's not saying to me. What I will say, and this does bother me, is that you have seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal, and in some ways very personally attacked the President of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. And the second message I would give to some of those cabinet members, Bibi, to his credit, has not gone down this path, but to some of these cabinet members in Israel who are attacking the President of the United States, the other thing that I would say is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars. The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the President of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. Thank you all.
What have you learned about going to war against Iran?
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.